Okay, can you see the slide 126 there? With all the, it's got 5 pictures. See it? Should have these kind of pictures. Should have these kind of pictures. Okay, do you see them? If not, just look at my pictures. Okay. See this kind of preacher up here in this corner? You like him? No. Why not? Okay, he's excited, but he's all over that pole. And you got this guy, he's jumping up in the air. Like him. It's just a question. I don't have this picture. You don't have the picture? No, I have gestures. You don't have it going up. You don't have that? I'll go up one more slide. It's there, and you're missing some slides. Yeah, you're missing some slides. Yeah, if you can show the picture there. I'm so sorry, guys. I thought I had them all in there. I had to edit the slides on my iPad, so that's why the English is not exactly okay. How do you like the guy in the middle? Why? Why do you like him? Because he's a prophet, right? He's definitely, his favorite thing is to convict people of sin. Okay, you don't want to preach like the one guy down there where everybody's asleep. Boring sermons don't change lives. Now, what about the guy standing beside the pulpit? Do you like his approach or not like his approach? Okay, 50-50, right? Okay, what do you like, what do you not like? It comes to pulpit, just stand there and okay. Okay. Doesn't go here, there, come back. I remember that. It like distracts people. I think it stands there and then it doesn't. Sometimes they go here and there and back. Yeah, it's when we lived in Belarus, there was a preacher, an evangelist that came from America. And when he preached, he walked from one side to the other side and back to the other. He was always in motion. And they asked some of the unbelievers that were at the meeting, what did you think? They said, I don't know if he's tired, but I am tired from watching him. It was just they couldn't catch what he was being translated to. His poor translator just had to pick a spot and stand. Because at first the translator tried to move with him. But he never, you have to imagine, if I'm moving and David is moving with me, David doesn't know when I'm going to turn around and come back. And he almost ran over his translator several times. So the poor translator just stepped back with a microphone and stood there and translated. So there are many of those kind of things. We want to have a way, whenever we preach, there are 3 key elements that we need to consider about the style of how we preach. The way you preach has to match you, has to match the text, has to match the auditorium. You don't have to preach like anybody else. God has made you unique. He's given you unique gifts. You may be more calm, you may be more emotional. But people need to see that you're speaking not like a kind of образованный лектор or motivaционный speaker, but you're like a real person. And so you need to think about who has God made me and what gifts has He given me. We've already said, even though every one of us needs to include interpretation, application, and illustrations, we're going to be stronger in probably two of those areas than we are in one of the others. So when we come to how long should you preach? How long you should preach has to match you, has to match your text, has to match your people that you're speaking to, has to match you. If you have more experience, you're probably going to be able to preach a little longer and be effective. If just because someone else preaches 35 or 50 minutes doesn't mean that you should preach 35 or 50 minutes. You're better to preach a good short sermon than a bad long sermon. So you need to think, okay, how long can I effectively hold their attention? Because remember, the sermon is not over when you stop talking, the sermon is over when they stop listening. How long can I effectively speak? You have to be humble. And you have to realize, I may not be able to preach as long as others. But that does not mean that I cannot preach well. So, it also has to match your people sitting out there. How long can they listen? Now, I don't know if we can translate this, but we're going to try. The mind can absorb, only as much as the popa can participate. You understand? The mind can only absorb as much as the bottom can endure. So if I'm tired of sitting here, my brain turns off. So you just have to realize that. Your people are going to have some limits. Sometimes there's a general tendency that older people will listen longer than younger people. But not always. But a lot of times older people are not in a hurry to get anywhere. They're retired. Young people are thinking, oh, well, I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this. If they watch a lot of short teaching videos on the internet, you better not try to preach a long time. They're used to getting good information in a short period of time. The other thing is, each one of us can either listen longer, more time, or less time, depending on the concrete day. For 40 years, I've been trying to understand the next thing I'm going to talk to you about. The weather will always impact
how well and how long people can listen.
Եղանակը միշտ ասելու է այն բանի վրա, թե ինչքան երկար, ինչքան լավ մարդիկ կարողանան լսել։
But you can never predict how it will affect them.
Բայց երբեք չես կարող իմանալ, թե ինչպես կազդի դրա վրա։
I'll give you an example.
Օրինակ,
It's a cloudy day.
մռայլ օր է։
Sometimes it's a cloudy day
Երբեմն մռայլ օր է լինում,
and people cannot listen very long.
ու մարդիկ չեն կարող երկար լսել։
Other days,
Ուրիշ ժամ է, ուրիշ
it's a
օր է։
cloudy day and suddenly the auditorium is alive and everybody's listening well.
Մռայլ օր է, բայց մարդիկ ցենց լսում են շատ լավ։
Why? I don't know.
Չգիտեմ,
But when I think, oh, it's a cloudy day, they won't be able to listen very
այս
well.
հետո մտածում եմ, всё, մռայլ օր է, հաստատ չեն կարողանալ լավ
I
լսել։
look out at the auditorium
Նայում ես աուդիտորիային,
and they're listening very well.
շատ լավ լսում են։
I think, oh, today it's cold outside, it's cloudy, they have nowhere to go, so they'll listen really well.
Ես մտածում եմ, որ վատա եղանակը տեղ չունեն գնալու, հենց որ կլսեն լավ։
And they're all sleeping with their eyes open.
Ու բոլորը աչքերը բաց քնել են։
Sometimes it's sunny outside.
Երբեմն արևոտ է դուրս։
You would think, their attitude is better
Մտածում են իրենց տրամադրությունը լավ է,
and they'll listen well.
ու լավ կլսեն։
Sometimes that happens.
Երբեմն դա լինում։
And sometimes they're thinking about the picnic they're going to do after church.
Երբեմն մտածում են, որ եկեղեցուց հետո պիտի պիկնիկ անեն։
You have to read your auditorium.
Կարող ես կարդաս լսարանը։
So that's why it's so dangerous to always preach the same amount of time.
Դրա համար է վտանգավոր միշտ նույն ժամանակը
It
քարոզել։
has to match your auditorium.
Պետք է քո լսարանի հետ համապատասխանի։
Some days they can listen more.
Երբեմն կարող
Some days they can
շատ, երբեմն ներողություն կարող են լսել ավելի քիչ։
One person said that a good sermon is like a nice piece of sausage.
Մեկը ասաց լավ քարոզելն է փերշիկին է։
You can cut off as much as you need and leave the rest.
Արաս ինչքան պետք է կտրես, մնացածը պահես։
They have a big appetite. Okay, we give them a bigger piece.
Շատ ունեն ախորժակ, ավելի մեծ կտորես։
They have a less of an appetite. We
Ավելի քիչ,
give them less.
ավելի քիչ ստացես։
You have to be willing. You have to read your auditorium.
Պետք է կարդաս քո լսարանի։
There is a typical length that any preacher who preaches will preach.
Մի բան կա, տիպիկ երկարություն կա, որ քարոզչը քարոզում է քննադատ։
And he will vary between 5 and 10 minutes, normally within 5 minutes.
5-10 րոպեի տարբերություն։
If you preach 35 minutes, you'll preach 30. If you preach 30 minutes, you'll preach 30 to 35.
Այսինքն եթե 30 րոպե տված 30-ից 35 րոպե է իրականում։
If you preach 40, you'll go 35 to 40, maybe 45.
35-ից 45-ի մեջ կտապեն։
Now, I'm not suggesting you do this,
Ամ առաջարկում որ անեք,
but you could basically set your stopwatch.
այս կարող եք timer տնեք։
Okay. A preacher starts preaching, and I watch how many minutes he goes.
Որ պատճառ ասած։ Any of the last time.
A typical person will preach with almost the same amount of minutes every time they preach.
Ոնց որ ասում եմ, եթե սովոր է ինչ-որ մեկ այսքան է քարոզում, ամեն անգամ ոնց որ այդ նույն ժամանակն է քարոզում։
If I listen to you preach 10 times,
Եթե 10 անգամ
I can take my stopwatch, I can start it going when you start preaching,
Yes,
I can push stop when you finish,
I
and
think
it will be
timer
within 5 minutes of what you have preached the last time.
ու այն ժամանակը ինչ որ անցած անգամ ես քարոզել, դրանից 5 րոպե ես խոմ են կոմալի։
We are people of habit.
Մենք սովորության արարածներ ենք։
So our habits are not holy.
Եվ մեր սովորությունները սուրբ չեն։
Our habits are habits.
Մեր սովորությունները
They
սովորություն։
can be good or bad.
Կարող են լինել լավ կամ վատ։
But I can't say I have to have 45 minutes to preach.
Բայց չեմ կարող ասել պիտի 45 րոպե քարոզ։
Basically, I'm saying my habit is more important than my effectiveness.
Եթե տենց եմ անում, ասում եմ, որ իմ սովորությունը ավելի կարևոր է, քանի մարդուն ավետ լինելը։
And my habit not to let you out on time for breaks also is not effective, so I'm going to let you have your break for 10
Որոնց
minutes.
միջման չեմ թողում ձեզ, դա էֆեկտիվ չի, նենց որ հիմա 10 րոպե իջնում եմ։
The last break of the day.